I want to touch back on Paris Saint-Germain, Augie, because Mbappe looks like he's heading to Real Madrid. Where does this defeat leave them? About to lose their star player, Luis Enrique, linked with a move back to Barcelona next summer at the end of his PSG contract. Is that it for PSG? Are they going to have to start from scratch again and go down a different route, not that of superstars, and maybe look for another way to try and win the Champions League? What do you think?
Well, I think they've already started doing that. I think when Neymar and Lionel Messi left a year ago, that signaled the start of a new policy. They brought in players from all over Europe, the young French players, I guess, that were going to be the bedrock of the new PSG. Obviously, Mbappe's gone. They're not going to get a fee for him, so which means it's going to be difficult for them to build again. But if you think about France, France produced so many great players. They've won the World Cup twice. They're a team that is always competitive at the highest level, but their club teams don't succeed. I think only one French team has won the Champions League. That was Marseille over 30 years ago. But if PSG want to be successful at that level, they just need to be the destination for all the best young French talent, because I don't think the game's superstars are going to go to PSG anymore. I think they're going to go to the Premier League, to La Liga, because they know that Ligue 1 is not competitive enough to kind of satisfy their ambitions. I think, they want to be, if they're good enough to play for PSG, they're good enough to play for Barcelona, Real Madrid, and all the top sides of the Premier League. So I think PSG, what they have to do now is be the team in France that gets all those great young French players and develops them to the point where they become, I guess, a club side in the image of France. And if you can do that, you've got a chance of winning everything, because we know that France produce, probably more top players than any other nation. I guess only Brazil and Argentina come close to France when it comes to producing global superstars. So the talent's there. PSG maybe just need to go down the route of picking local talent, homegrown talent, rather than buying superstars. But I don't think that option is going to be available anymore. I don't think the superstars will go there, because they've seen the PSG project doesn't work in that form. So they'll go to other clubs in Europe and leave PSG maybe to pick up the best young French talent and make them a team of superstars in their own right.
As someone who covers the Manchester beat, two players who used to play for Manchester United, one permanently and one who's on loan at Dortmund, Marcel Sabitzer and Jadon Sancho, are now preparing for a Champions League final. Justin Bieber's song, Is It Too Late to Say I'm Sorry? Just as well it isn't for Jadon Sancho in deciding that he didn't want to do so, because he could have been at Selhurst Park on Monday night instead of playing against Paris Saint-Germain on Tuesday. So how can we link this with Manchester United as far as decisions made? They bring in the likes of Sofiane Amrabat to replace the likes of Sabitzer. It just seems all over the place, the Manchester United recruitment here. Meanwhile, a former player and a loanee are both preparing for a Champions League final. Augie, how will that sit at Old Trafford?
Well, it's certainly been a question that's been doing the rounds in Manchester for the last 2 or 3 days as to how, Sancho's taken the headlines, because Sancho, is a Man United player and he's not playing for Man United. United are ending their season at Wembley in the FA Cup final, but Jadon Sancho's ended it in the Champions League final at Wembley. So who would you rather be? I would probably rather be Jadon Sancho, because you've got a fighting chance of winning the Champions League. I'm not quite sure that would have been the case in the FA Cup final against Man City, but let's just take Sabitzer first. Sabitzer arrived on loan from Bayern Munich last the January transfer window last season. He did really well. He brought athleticism, he brought professionalism, he brought reliability, energy box to box, but he got injured towards the end of the season and missed the cup final. And United felt that they could find a better option in the market. That some of them signed Sabitzer on a permanent deal for around, I think, 12, 14 million pounds. A really good deal at the time, but they decided otherwise. They signed Mason Mount, and then when they realised they were desperate towards the end of the window, they signed Sofiane Amrabat on loan from Fiorentina. And let's be honest, both players have been a disaster. Mount has maybe got a future, maybe give Mount a chance when he gets fit, but Amrabat's been awful. So Sabitzer has been outstanding for Dortmund in their run to the final, and he showed against PSG in both legs what United have missed this season. That kind of energy in midfield, that youth, it's not youthful energy, but just reliability that Casemiro hasn't got. And, Kobe Mainoo will be crying out for somebody like Marcel Sabitzer alongside him. But that ship sailed. Sancho's a different matter. Obviously, Sancho was kind of frozen out by Ten Hag for not apologising for his social media post back in September. Now, I look at the way Jurgen Klopp dealt with Mo Salah last week, when Salah had that little strop on the touchline, and it was very highly publicised. And Salah came out and said there will be fire if I talk about it. So a clear kind of defiance of his manager. But Klopp dealt with it brilliantly. He dealt with it. He said, it's all sorted out. We've dealt with it. So we're taking Salah inside, had a conversation, moved on. Ten Hag put his heels in and left the situation where Sancho was training on his own for 3 months. He's gone to Borussia Dortmund, and Edin Terzic has rehabilitated him. He's made him a star performer in the Champions League semi-finals. So for me, this is all on Erik Ten Hag. This is Ten Hag's poor management of Jadon Sancho. He's mismanaged the situation. But you can argue that he's mismanaged Marcus Rashford this season. He maybe mismanaged Cristiano Ronaldo last season. He's mismanaged other players. And I think, Jadon Sancho should be a Man United player now. But as it stands, he probably won't want to go back to Man United. Why would he want to go back to Man United with or without Ten Hag? Because United right now are in the mess. Jadon Sancho is looking at Anthony on the right, thinking, why am I not playing ahead of Anthony? And Ten Hag's favoured Anthony. So Sancho has been the big winner in this scenario. Ten Hag's been a big loser. And I think Jadon Sancho might walk away with the Champions League winners' medal this season. I think there's no way I'm going back to Manchester United. He can think better. He can aim higher than that.